What's going on, YouTube? It's your boy Sugarfreetp here, and listen, we are diving right on into the road to Requiem, the Resident Evil game coming out very, very soon. We're gonna go ahead and dive into some of these things, so let's hop right on into it.
Are you ready for the horrors ahead? To prepare you for Resident Evil Requiem, we've created a special recap. A look back at how we got here, the legendary characters, the unforgettable terrors, and the chilling details that may be important to remember as you continue to venture into the nightmare that awaits. So let's begin with the events leading up to the 1998 Raccoon City incident.
This is such a super cool diorama that they have in the back where they're connecting all the different characters to the mainline story of Resident Evil, because we know that everything does go back to Umbrella, but sometimes they don't explicitly say it. But now you can kind of see the fact of the matter is everything goes back to my boy Oswell E. Spencer, all right? Which we know he's had his hand in pretty much everything, with the progenitor virus. So I guess even when you look at his effect on Alyssa to Grace, which, you know, obviously there's a huge dilemma here that we're going to see later on in the trailer of if Oswald Spencer is alive in a different type of form, is I guess what we'll say here. But this is super, super cool for them to break this out so that we recognize one of two things. One, that everything goes back to Umbrella, and that the overarching story of Resident Evil, no matter what part of the series you enter, Umbrella always had a role in playing in really, we could say, considering through the connections probably in creating these things happening. But also the bigger thing is that this story isn't going to be somewhat separated from Umbrella, but bringing Umbrella back to the forefront, which is super important. Because let's be honest here, one of the greatest members of Umbrella was who? Wesker, okay? And I think anything that goes back to Wesker and all the biohazards, especially with BSAA, is such an important thing to bring these things to light and together. So that way when we look at this overall story with Alyssa, considering she has maybe a certain type of antibody in her body, and maybe that's a reason why they might want Grace, this is going to be huge. Let's continue.
Many years prior, a group of researchers discovered the progenitor virus in Africa.
Yes.
Among these researchers was Oswell E. Spencer,
This
a
man
of immense
right here.
wealth and influence. Together, they founded the Umbrella Corporation, which on the surface seemed like an ordinary pharmaceutical company.
Lies.
But Umbrella's true purpose, driven by Spencer's ambition to reshape humanity, was to advance virus research and bioweapons development. Many years later, one of
This
Spencer's
is so
collaborators,
cool,
James
guys.
Marcus, would successfully develop the T virus. However, in 1998, the virus leaked from a research facility in Raccoon City,
This
located
is
in
so
the American
cool
Midwest.
of them taking us back
The
through this.
virus spread throughout the city, triggering an unprecedented pandemic and mutating its residents into flesh-eating zombies. Only the bravest souls were fearless enough to fight the infected
Yes.
and the monstrous bioweapons born from the T virus.
Some of our favorite characters.
Rookie cop Leon S.
My
Kennedy.
boy.
College student Claire Redfield. STARS agent Jill Valen.
Stars. She is a star in my book. Yo, woo! I wish she would look at me like that. Continue.
Tyne, and a handful of others
Ooh,
were
ooh.
able to prevail and eventually
My boy
flee the city.
Carlos.
Fearing further spread, the U.S. government launched a sterilization operation, destroying Raccoon City. The Umbrella Corporation eventually went bankrupt due to the mounting evidence brought to light. However, its legacy lives on. And as for the survivors, their story was just beginning. Some, like Raccoon City journalist Alyssa Ashcroft, sought to expose Umbrella's darkest secrets.
There we go. There's some
Some
important details
hunted
here.
the bioterrorists who weaponized Umbrella's research. Others set out to unveil the real truth behind the
Yes.
government's sterilization operation. The aftershocks of the
Because of
Raccoon
the government,
City
there were so
incident
many
would be
aspects
felt
that I
for
think was
decades to come,
ignored during this process.
and coincide with other increasingly frequent bioweapon-related outbreaks.
Our boy Ethan,
Caught up in one such bioweapon-related tragedy was an ordinary man.
listen, hot take. I think Ethan Winters was fantastic as a protagonist, okay? I actually really, really like Ethan, and some people may not feel the same way, so it's kind of a hot take. But I genuinely think that 7 and 8 bringing Resident Evil back as a franchise in a whole new way was super important for the future of Resident Evil, but even more so to have someone different. Even though, I mean, some of the muddiness of him being kind of immortal, getting his hands cut off, and listen, he was really cool. I don't care what nobody says. And he's got a daughter that's probably crazy, and I hope that she has something to do with this story. Otherwise, I'm gonna be disappointed. Anyway, continue.
By the name of Ethan Winters. Ethan was searching for his missing wife, Mia. Following an anonymous email, he finds himself in the bowels of the bayou at the Baker estate, where he's greeted by a deranged family infected by a horrifying ailment.
The Bakers, baby.
Ethan fought to escape their madness and rescue his wife. 3 years later, Ethan would face a new nightmare. This time, his baby daughter Rose.
Okay, I have to say this. This is really, really interesting. I love how they're bringing some of these details that you probably would have forgotten in between because these games have been so long and separated. When you think about the fact that Ethan, between 7 and 8, there was 3 years time frame, meaning during that time, he never knew that he was pretty much part of the mold and alive because of the mold, is crazy. Meaning they just let Ethan go. There's a lot of things you got to think about there. The fact that he gets saved at 7, they don't test anything about him. They just believe he's fine and lets him go. We don't know how much he was actually being monitored up until this point of Resident Evil 8. So you got to think, this man was living as basically the mold, as part of the mold for an entire 3 years. Even having a baby. Getting down with me, you know what I'm saying?
Is taken away by Chris Redfield, the legendary hero who survived countless bioterror incidents. Ethan's quest to rescue his daughter led him to a mysterious, treacherous village ruled by Mother Miranda and the Four Lords. Like the
I
Baker
love Resident Evil
family,
8.
the village residents were turned into nightmarish creatures. And those 4 powerful lords, well, one of them was more powerful and stunning than the others.
Listen, you can argue all you want. I will say this. Okay, another hot take here. I do think that them using Lady D so much, but then she only having like the beginning part of the story does kind of suck, to be honest with you. I would hope that she'd have been longer from the beginning, but you know, hindsight's 2020, either which way. At least we got to spend some time with her, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying.
What a goddess. Oh, my apologies. Now, where was I? Mother Miranda, who shares a deep connection with Umbrella founder Oswell E. Spencer, played a key role behind the village incident.
Yes, yes.
Separately, it was revealed that an insidious force known simply as the Connections was operating from the shadows and also played a key role in the incident. To this day, little is known about the Connections.
See, that's really important. I want to stop there because I think the biggest thing about thinking about the Connections is understanding their first, ironically, their connection to Umbrella, who could be being used through these connections to causing all these different moments to happen in time. Because obviously the mold is separate from the T-virus, you know, in the breakouts that have happened all throughout the different generations of Resident Evil. Now they're touching on the fact that the Connections basically was the in-between which is what I'm assuming. I think we would all safely assume the connections is the in-between of Umbrella, the secret part of Umbrella that's still operating. And so they're using these different things to test these bioweapons, which we know they've been doing for years. So this is an interesting aspect that they're finally going to go talking about the connections and how they actually are ironically connected to all the different universes, not universes, all the different verses or parts of the Resident Evil franchise. Let's continue.
Ethan Winter's terrifying two-part tale was as chilling as it was exhilarating.
Yes. Hey, you guys remember when Resident Evil Village was finally dropping and everybody assumed that Chris was going to be a werewolf? Bro, that time of speculation was a beautiful time, because you would look at this and go, oh my gosh, Chris officially has become something different, and the werewolf aspect has got to be Chris. Chris is dead. That is such an exciting time, and I think them being able to have these moments has only made Resident Evil better, because the speculation drives that interest. And so now they're doing a lot when it comes to the connections and bringing back Umbrella as a staple. And I think there's a lot that we do need to dive into for the lore aspect of some of the things that Umbrella has been doing in connection to the connections and how they've affected the different things that we've seen with the Resident Evil verse. Let's continue.
The series' newest, most chilling
Right,
installment, where
listen.
you'll play FBI analyst Grace
Ooh-wee.
Ashcroft as she confronts her haunted past and uncovers the truth behind the Raccoon City incident. Prepare yourself for a new chapter of Resident Evil.
This is so
and a
interesting.
story that pushes
First of all,
the series forward.
Like,
using
there's so much
gameplay
happening
that
right
has
here.
evolved in
Hold on. Look, this is such a good part right here. First of all, I gotta stop at this frame, because you actually get to see Grace now with the gun in hand. Because I know immediately when we first saw the first trailers, if you've watched them, it didn't look like there was going to be much action involved. And I think them now showing a lot of this with her having a weapon in hand. And even later in the trailer, spoiler alert, there's a section where you actually get to see her letting that boy loose. It's such a great and I think an important part of showing you what Requiem's going to be like. I'm not gonna lie, I know that Grace from the very beginning has been this kind of very timid, scared like girl. She also fine. Fine, but also scared. You know what I mean? But I think them progressing this character is gonna be super, super nice to see. Because like, listen, if I was Grace, I didn't know anything about zombie outbreaks. I'm just this, nerdy little girl, give or take, who has no idea what her mom was getting into. And all of a sudden her mom gets, yeah, you're going to be scared. You're going to be nervous. You're not going to really want to be involved in a lot of violent activities because you had to witness your mom get. So the progression of her character is going to be really interesting. Let's continue.
in terrifying new ways. Resident Evil Requiem will be available on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, Steam, Nintendo Switch 2, and for the first time in series history, the Epic Game Store. You'll be able to choose between 2 editions, Standard and Deluxe.
Listen, I want to tell you guys this. Now that we're looking at the Deluxe Edition, I know, listen, I have feelings about, standard, deluxe, extra, special deluxe, extra triple, $500, value plus, editions. But I tell you right now, like in this aspect, the only reason why I think most people, if anybody's going to buy it, is this thing right here in the center. You get to have Grace cosplaying Lady D. You get to have best of both worlds. Grace Fine cosplaying Lady D's Fine. Boys, all you gooners are going to be going crazy. I promise you, first night, crazy. How much progress did you make in the game? I don't even know, man. You know what I'm saying? I just started the game. It says you've been playing for 12 hours. And only in the beginning? I mean, that's how some of y'all freaky man's about to be. I just want to say, listen, I don't like the aspects of pre-ordering to get certain things. But I'm going to be honest with you. I think bringing Grace out of the formal to the informal, this skin is really, really cool. And the fact of the matter is, once again, you get to see this is all about that action. She's got what looks like to be dirt or mud. It doesn't look like blood because it's kind of black. So there's something on her face that we would consider that's probably not blood. But she is strapped, okay? This is the kind of Grace we want to see. We want to see Grace like this, like mid to late game, where she's about that action. We don't want her tripping over herself anymore and being scared. We want her letting them bullets fly. I do want to comment on this. Okay, first things first, F Nintendo, okay? I'll say it out loud. I don't care. After all the stuff they've been doing, I ain't messing with Nintendo, bro. But let me say this. This controller is dope. If it wasn't being released explicitly or implicitly, however you want to, exclusively, I'm sorry, to the Switch 2 as a controller, bro, I would want to get this controller because this is dope. I like that controller. I wish I could get a controller for my PC like that. Just saying. You can hate on the Switch 2. I'm with you. I'm right there with you. I ain't got it. But let's just say this. You know, I just want to say it. This controller is fire. Now, I want to take a second I want to approach this too, okay? This could be controversial depending on how you look at game studios, but honestly, I think this is a good idea just for the sake of introducing, first of all, Grace as a character to people who wouldn't normally play horror games or play Resident Evil, but also to expand their horizons. As they are going to the Epic Game Store, I think this is a really good way to get people on the Epic Game Store to actually buy the game rather than having it as an option and 5,222 people buy it, you know? So even though it's a little weird, I guess you could say, to have a Resident Evil Fortnite skin. Fortnite has skins for basically everything at this point. So it makes sense for Fortnite, but I do support them really taking the time to expand to get as big of an audience as they can get for Resident Evil. So I'm on board. I ain't gonna play it. I ain't gonna, get the skin for Fortnite because I don't play Fortnite, but I support it.
As you may know, Resident Evil is celebrating 30 years of terror.
Hold on, guys. I gotta stop it here. I want to tell you this right now, bro. Do you guys, first of all, I love you so much, Maggie. If you ever see a video of mine, I want you to know, Maggie, you're amazing. I love all the content that you have done. Your voice acting is mwah. But aside from Glaze and Maggie right here, do y'all see that picture in the back, bro? I don't know if it's a poster. I don't know what it is. But I would sell probably one of my kidneys for this thing. That thing is so dope right there, bro. I would have that back here. It is so dope. I just want to point that out. If y'all didn't notice that, man, you got Ada fine. All right, let's keep going.
While our time today has come to an end, we hope to see you again very soon during the Resident Evil Showcase early next year, where we'll descend even deeper into all things Resident Evil Requiem. Thank you all for joining.
Oh, you're welcome, Maggie. We'll see you in a second. We're getting to the best part now. This is exactly what I wanted. Look at this.
Alyssa died 8 years ago. Perhaps it's time for you to face the past.
These are some really cool shots. They're showing new stuff that we've never seen before in these trailers. First of all, hold on. Listen, I had to go back and stop and listen. Like mama, like daughter. Alyssa can get it too, bro. I don't care how old she is. That is all. That is all. I just wanted you to know that I look at that woman right there and go, that's a tall drink of milkshake, baby, and I am thirsty.
They're coming.
Grace, confront that fear.
See, this is so good right here. We're seeing so many excellent parts of this.
Come in.
These are also new scenes. So we get to see this woman walking through the hallway. We've seen this before. Obviously, this woman, this is some of the cool things right here. So I want to go to this section right here. So we see, this is something we've seen before. There's a woman in a dress. She has white hair, which we see often. There's a lot of different scenarios of women with white hair. Now, I know that there's an ongoing theory that Alyssa is the giant monster that you see creeping through the walls, you know, with the split hairs and one big eyeball, the one creepy one that's part Spider Woman. But I don't know. I don't frankly think that that's her, if I'm being honest here. And I'll give you a reason why in a second. But if you look at the background of this looks like the hotel before it was broken down or burned down. This could potentially be a different location, but when you look at the chandelier to the lighting in the background, this looks brand new. So unless this is a section of the hotel that you have to explore that has been restored or is underground or something like that, I don't think this is the same place. Or it's pre, going down, All right, let's keep going. So we see here's a section right here. I wanted to pause that. First of all, Grace is looking phenomenal. Their graphics, oh my gosh, look at the details, even from the eyebrows, the eyelashes, the reflection of the light in the eyes is so good. But my theory here is that Alyssa either is cloned or she was used to produce other offspring, or her DNA was used, and what Grace is seeing here is either someone that looks like her or looks like her mom. That's my theory right here, because look at her face. She's like, I recognize this person. Now, it's just a theory, and I'm probably wrong, but this is where I think this is where maybe Alyssa is, or was used, or her, something like that. There's something that I feel is going on here that may signify her mother more than the big creature running around.
There's no escaping your destiny.
See, this is super interesting.
Did you hide behind that painting?
So this, okay. Let's go back to this section right here.
Did you hide behind that painting?
I wanted to stop here. This is actually really, really important, and I'm glad that they put this in the trailer. So you actually get to see for the first time. First of all, I just want to point out some amazing things here. Look at this. So you get to see where the flashlight is, and it's just showing the knuckles. And the detail of this man's hair to his ears and the reflection on the back is such a good look. But here's some interesting things. Look at his mouth. That's not blood. He doesn't have any blood on his clothing. So this gives me some kind of thought that these weren't people that were turned by regular zombies, but the whole idea of experimentation on people is where I get that this might be where it's going. Also, you get to see this big ass pistol that Grace got right here, and I think this is super important because you get to see this thing go blam. All right, this is the thing that I think we wanted to see most when it came to Resident Evil Requiem, is what is the combat going to look like? And honestly, from the third person perspective, I really, really like this. I love the details. I love the way the clothing looks. Look at how it's like flapping in the wind a little bit. Everything looks so good from here. All right, let's continue.
We have so much to do.
Okay, let me pause it here. I want to say this. This is probably the biggest thing. Do we think that this is Oswald Spencer? I have a theory, okay? It's kind of going off of the theory that I was thinking of earlier when it comes to cloning or some way of using someone else's DNA to create something, all right? I think that this is possibly either a clone or someone used an experiment to create someone that has the intellect or maybe has downloaded the consciousness of Spencer, because I don't think this is directly him. I don't think that he was turned into this, but I think this might be a type of consciousness switching into, maybe an experiment of using his cells, his brain, something like that, considering you see how his head looks, right? It looks like he's had surgery from his chest, so this is just, I could be wrong, but maybe this whole thing around his head, is because there's a brain replacement? It's just a theory. I could be wrong. Hopefully I'm right. But let's see.
Who are you? Why me?
You know, last thing here, when it comes to this trailer, they continuously show just how good the graphics are in this. And I just tell you right now, this is absolutely gorgeous. Grace is so fine. But more importantly, the lighting, the shading, the skin, even the little bits of sweat from even the bandage. Look at how realistic the bandage looks, the bleeding. I think this is further into the game because she's so much more determined here than she was earlier. I think, if I'm being honest here, y'all, they hit it out of the park. And I believe that this game is going to be super good. And I'm hoping for only the best. All right, we're coming off the coattails of Resident Evil 4, the remake, which was phenomenal, okay? I do love what they did with it. It was so good. Obviously, Resident Evil 3 wasn't as good as a remake, but you have Resident Evil 7 and Village. I think were both fantastic titles. Resident Evil 2 remake is one of the best remakes of all time. So I just want to say this. I think the beautiful thing that we're seeing here is we're going to see how the stories all come together. And I think them focusing on the very beginning of Oswald E. Spencer is why it's important that when we seen that gentleman earlier, that we don't immediately think that's Oswald, but something connected to Oswald. And that would be my final theory here. Guys, you guys let me know what you think. And let's get excited. Let me know if you're going to go ahead and pre-purchase this. If not, hey, it's all good. But believe, I'm going to be playing it. All right, you guys. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I will catch you guys on the next one. Peace.